The prophecy says that a child with the hair color of the first saint will become a princess and bring peace and stability to the empire. The past saint healed tens of thousands of people and with one word stopped the bloody war. A child with pink hair was also supposed to be a harbinger of a new era. Ursia Pysantria was born with pink hair, so everyone had high hopes for her. Pink was considered the main color in the temple, so when the prophecy appeared, everyone knew what it meant, but no one thought it was really possible. Many aristocrats discussed the possibility of having a child with pink hair. People thought that such an incredible event in the life of a great empire would never happen. Every day, more and more rumors and questions appeared, but one day, the child mentioned in the prophecy was born. The girl's parents had white hair, but Ursia had pink hair from infancy. Mother and father did not even suspect the existence of a prophecy in which their daughter was supposed to participate. They rejoiced every day spent with her in her carefree childhood. But unfortunately for them, everyone around was sure that she was the very heir of the first saint. People prayed for her, saying that she would soon lead the church and lead the believers. Ursia was born into the family of a duke, so from childhood she did not know sadness and grief. All the castle servants were amazed by her beauty, so they constantly wanted to get closer to her. The girl always talked to everyone until she was completely exhausted. One day she was taken from her parents and then taken to the imperial citadel where she was to live for the rest of her life. She was very small, but she was still able to pull herself together and behave well in an unfamiliar place. That day, an unfamiliar boy approached her, who in the future was to become her husband. He was the only one who smiled at the sight of her in this huge and unfamiliar place. She lived in the imperial citadel far from her family, so the prince became her only ray of light. Ursia immediately trusted him, not yet suspecting what would happen to her in the future. Thanks to him, she took up her studies seriously to learn the science of managing an empire. The girl studied from early morning until late at night, doing everything she could. At such a young age, it was difficult to prepare to one day become a princess. Sometimes she wanted to give up this life because she never wanted to be a great saint. But at such moments, all she thought about was that she could not let the crown prince down. Next to him, Ursia felt like the happiest girl in the entire great empire. Everything was fine. She was able to overcome all the difficulties, but in an instant her position in the castle changed, as if God himself had decided to play a trick on her. When there was not much time left before the wedding, a clergyman came to her to inform her that the prophecy had changed. Such a statement from the man shocked Ursia because all her life she had been preparing to become the wife of the crown prince. She was interested in the question of how this could even happen, because before that day everything was different. The man sincerely apologized to her and stated that he did not know at all how to answer her question. The girl clutched the dress in her hands, a terrifying silence rang in her ears, and the thought flashed through her head that this was simply impossible. Rising from the sofa, she thought that even in this case, the crown prince would never leave her. To make sure of this, the girl went straight to meet Prince Damien. Ursia ran as fast as she could down the corridor, hoping that the crown prince would not leave her. Running up to the stairs, she saw Damien standing at the top, who calmly called her by name. As soon as their eyes met, he immediately announced that he planned to break off their engagement. His gaze was filled with hatred towards her and indignation at the current difficult situation. The girl, meanwhile, did not understand how at one moment her life changed so dramatically. The guy looked at her for a short time, after which he rudely stated that he was very sorry that everything had turned out this way. Ursia did not answer anything, but thought that all this time she had loved him, and now they could not be together because of the prophecy. She remembered the day when she first saw him in the large and unfamiliar imperial castle. The girl hoped that he would remember how everything was before, because they could still maintain their relationship. The crown prince looked at her sternly, showing with all his appearance that he was no longer interested in her. The guy said that from this day on they are no longer bound by the prophecy, so there is no point in getting married. Ursia agreed with his words, but thought that she needed to preserve at least the remnants of honor because they had been together for 18 years, and now he, without hesitation, leaves her because of the prophecy, like some kind of garbage. Having calmed down a little, she stated that she absolutely agreed with his words on this occasion. Within a minute she was heading to her room without uttering another word to him. Thus, their 18-year relationship ended a month before the wedding ceremony. The next morning she did not want to wake up, still hoping that it was a bad dream. The sun's rays passed through the canopy of her bed and then fell on her face, causing the girl to immediately wake up. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she thought that even the faithful servants who had been with her since childhood had abandoned her. Approaching the mirror where her future crown lay, Ursia involuntarily cried and decided that this thing would no longer be needed. She sat in front of the mirror for some time, trying to figure out what she should do now. Suddenly, the girl heard sounds coming from behind the door, so she immediately wiped her tears. Ursia stood up and walked to the door, asking about what was happening outside and who the guards were trying to keep out. The door opened wide and an unfamiliar girl with pink hair flew into the room. The stranger stopped in the center of the room and joyfully greeted the crown prince's previous fiancée. Looking at her, the owner of the room thought that every girl dreams of one day becoming a princess. The girl who came in told her that it was an honor for her to meet her. Smiling happily, she stated that her name was Naivia Lurtella and that she must fulfill the prophecy. Ursia began to remember a little about who she was, and then she remembered who the Marquis of Lurtell was. Without waiting for any answer, Naivia asked if she really had nothing to say. Straightening her hair, the owner of the room said that she was also glad to meet you, but she did not give permission to enter her chambers. The prince's new bride looked around, realizing that she had indeed entered without asking. Watching her calmly walk around her room, Ursia asked what she needed. Naivia took the crown and said that she just wanted to look around, because now she will live in this room. The girl unceremoniously put the crown on her head, clearly wanting to drive her competitor into rage. Turning to the owner of the room, she joyfully declared that the royal crown suited her very well. Ursia thought that some stupid little thing would take her place, so she said out loud that she couldn't bear it. A couple of seconds later, a guard entered the room, saying that the girls were not allowed into the princess's chambers, to which she replied that she herself would soon become a princess. Unable to bear it, the owner of the room quickly ran up to her, intending to express absolutely everything that she thought about her. Naivia angrily asked if she had done something wrong, because she was soon to become a princess. The owner of the room explained that the prophecy had changed, and soon this room would be hers. But at the moment she had entered someone else's territory, and this was considered a sin, so she also needed to be punished. The new princess informed Ursia that she had simply taken her words the wrong way. She added that the prophecy itself speaks specifically about her, which means she will become a princess. The prince's past bride sighed wearily and menacingly declared that the girl was simply the daughter of the Marquis. She explained that she was still a princess, so she had no right to barge into her room without permission, and then asked if she really didn't understand such simple truths. Ursia explained that she is still the prince's bride, and therefore the mistress of the citadel. The girl crushed her rival with the words that the newly made princess was a nobody here because His Majesty the Emperor had decided so. Naivia immediately reduced her ardor, realizing that there was some truth in the words of the previous princess. The owner of the room asked if the fact that the prophecy was about her made her consider herself superior to the emperor himself. The girl who came in loudly declared that this was absolute nonsense, because she had never thought about herself like that. The crown from her head fell to the floor, and Ursia ordered the guards to tie her hand and foot and then return her to the Marquis. The maids watched everything that was happening from behind the doors of the room, not understanding what was happening. The past princess said that she considered this a fair punishment for breaking into the princess's bedroom. The guards quickly ran up to the girl who entered and grabbed her, to which she began to shout that this was now her room. The men dragged her out of the princess's chambers, and Naivia continued to scream that they should let her go immediately. Ursia watched everything that was happening until the guards closed the door behind them. After that, she tiredly sank onto the soft sofa, thinking about everything that had happened earlier. The girl decided that it was a very stupid move on the part of His Majesty to try to replace her with Naivia. Ursia believed that the new princess was simply a foolish girl who did not know her place. She covered her face with her hands, trying to push self-pity into the background, but after that she felt completely different feelings. Suddenly, the girl realized that she wanted to make everyone involved pay for all their torment. Closer to lunch, she was walking along the corridor where she suddenly heard words that God had turned away from her. Ursia began to look around, hoping to see who was spreading these unpleasant rumors. Girls passed by her, saying that otherwise the prophecy would not have changed so suddenly. They assumed that God had abandoned the precious daughter of the Pesantria family, but since she was still a princess, she would be married off to the king of another country. Ursia thought that even though she was no longer the crown princess, some ladies had no right to talk about her like that. She caught up with them and asked them to repeat louder those words that directly concerned her. The girls were seriously scared and quickly closed their mouths, not daring to answer anything. They quickly bowed and said that they were very sorry, and also that Her Majesty should forgive them. One of them said that she would never hear anything like that from her again. Ursula revealed that she is indeed no longer the crown princess, just like she said. The girls became even more frightened and began to say that they were begging her to forgive them. This whole farce was interrupted by the main maid of honor approaching, asking everyone what was happening. Hearing a familiar voice, the girl turned around and saw a woman approaching them. Noticing her disdainful look, Ursula immediately realized that she was thinking the same thing as these girls. The girl remembered that the maid of honor had been with her since childhood, but at an opportune moment, she immediately turned away from her. Realizing that she was alone in the entire castle, the former princess declared that they could all leave. She couldn't believe that they had known the maid of honor for so long, but it was all over so quickly. Ursula walked in the opposite direction from them, trying to suppress her anger. She was heading to the reception hall because the crown prince had invited her to meet him. Going inside, she found Damien sitting at the table, drinking aromatic tea. The girl still couldn't believe that they could now meet only in the reception hall. She couldn't help but think that they were no longer a family, which meant that the gay man would soon have to leave this place. Walking closer to the table, she asked if she had kept him waiting for a long time. The guy calmly and good-naturedly told her to wait for her just a little bit and then ordered her to sit opposite her. Damien watched her slowly sink into her seat without saying anything. The girl thought that she was very used to seeing him every day because she took it for granted. The thought occurred to her that from that day, her life would change dramatically. Previously, she was next to the crown prince of the empire almost every day. After many years, they became good friends who could always find something to talk about. Now Ursula was holding a cup of hot tea in her hands and thinking that from now on, it was all over. She decided to tell that the position of chief chamberlain in the imperial castle was inherited by the son of the former chamberlain. Damien looked at her carefully and stated that she didn't seem to care at all about what happened. The former princess looked at him in surprise and asked how she should have reacted. The girl understood perfectly well that her tears could not change anything, but if this were so, then she would definitely cry, and now she needed to preserve the remnants of her pride. The crown prince hit the table and rudely asked if she really wanted to tell him anything, to which she replied that she would like to speak. Ursula calmly asked when she should leave the castle, which greatly angered Damien. Trying to hide his anger, the guy laughed quietly, to which she added that the emperor never said anything, so this issue should be resolved by him. He looked at her angrily and asked if she really wanted to leave the castle so quickly. The girl was not going to answer him, drinking aromatic tea and believing that she had asked a completely logical question. The crown prince stood up from the table and walked towards the exit, saying that she should do as she wishes. Ursula did not expect such an answer at all, so she did not answer him when he left. That same evening, she sorted through the notes that she was going to give to Damien when he became emperor. She got a headache wondering why she tried so hard. It was pointless. From early childhood, she studied various arts, including fencing. The girl trained with all her might, without sparing herself, in the hope that one day she would become an empress who could stand up for herself. During one of the training sessions, she was approached by the crown prince, who was a couple of years older than her. The boy told her not to force herself to train if she didn't want to which she replied that members of the imperial family should be able to stand up for themselves. Damien said that he was a good knight, so he coped with battles better than with state affairs. Taking the sword from her hands, he asked if she could allow him to protect her. Ursula looked at him with tenderness and thanked him from the bottom of her heart for trying so hard for her. She thought that he was good at everything, but every time he tried to cheer her up. The boy took her hand and said that they would go through life together, so he could always protect her. Now the girl believed that all his words were complete nonsense and nonsense. Deciding that she would no longer need the notes, she brought the paper to the candle, after which the writing burst into flames. Opening the window, the girl scattered the remaining ashes into the wind, watching them slowly fly away into the darkness. Suddenly she saw a bird approaching, to whose paw a package was tied. The dove sat on her hand, allowing her to remove from her paw the treasured message that he was entrusted with delivering. Ursula knew very well that only her father could send such a letter, and when she opened it, she was completely convinced of it. The girl quickly read what was written, after which she closed the window and returned to the fireplace. A guy entered the room asking her if she really called him. Seeing the guest enter, she joyfully announced that they had not seen him for a very long time. The guy's name was Ash. He was a loyal servant of the Duke's family, whom you sent to the Imperial Citadel without his father's knowledge. He was the only one Ursula could completely trust, because he was her blade. The girl told the guest who came in that he could come to her, because she had been waiting for him for a long time. Ash told her that he was really looking forward to the moment when she would call him to her. Coming closer to her, the guy dropped to one knee as a sign of reverence and respect for his mistress. Faithful Blade extended both hands towards her, intending to take her hand for a kiss. She extended her hand to him, after which she felt his soft lips touch her wrist. Having finished with the greeting actions, Ash asked if he could help her with anything. The girl looked at him carefully and said that she had one single request. Ursula asked him if he could spread some rumors about an unkind person. In response to his silent question, she explained that she meant the daughter of the Marquis of Lurtella, Navia. The Marquis of Lurtella, apart from his title, had neither money nor any influence over the aristocracy. There are very few servants left under his command who have served his family for many generations. It all happened because 3 generations ago, the Marquis's wife used weak people to remain beautiful. Erzia handed over the notes to her blade, saying that they should play on such an important fact. She explained that first he must spread rumors that the Marquis's daughter is kidnapping beggar children. The girl said that Miss Lurtella started first, saying that she was too wasteful and that she manipulated the servants. The guy rose from his knees and declared that he would not allow anyone to insult his mistress. Erzia did not immediately notice that bitter tears began to appear in the guy's eyes. She asked if he really wanted everyone to think that she had scolded him. Her trusty blade said that otherwise the servants might suspect something was wrong. The girl let him go and thought that it was very convenient when you could cry at any moment, and Anna did not expect anything less from Ash. She began to burn the letter. I thought that she would make Naevia pay for daring to stand in the way of the only princess of Pysantria. At the same time, in another part of the empire, His Eminence was peacefully looking at his church. His peace was interrupted by a clergyman who ran up and told him that Princess Pysantria was at the center of a scandal. The head of the temple said that this could not be allowed, because Ercia Pysantria should become only his. The man who told the news looked down and reminded that Miss Lurtella became the new owner of the prophecy, so she was also involved in the scandal. Having listened to him attentively, His Eminence laughed loudly and loudly, which greatly frightened the clergyman. Having calmed down, he wondered if all these rumors were the princess's tricks. He turned around and said that he was very interested in Lady Pysantria's next move. When asked by the clergyman whether he was really going to meet with Ercia, as he had planned, His Eminence answered in the affirmative. The head of the temple thought only that he could not wait for that very meeting with the Princess of Pysantria. The next day, the girl began to pack her suitcases with things, but to her surprise, there weren't many things. Ursula sighed calmly and thought that she could finally return to her father. She was determined that she needed to keep everything she had gained as crown princess. Taking the box with the wedding ring from the table, the girl thought for a long time about what she should do with it, after which she called the maid. She had never seen the girl who came out before, so she assumed that all the servants had been replaced after their breakup. They stood in silence for some time, after which the maid asked why she was called. Returning from her thoughts, Ercia handed her the box with the ring and told her to give it to the crown prince. The girl took the box and immediately left the room, intending to complete her mistress's order as quickly as possible. Having finished all the work with the ring, Princess Pysantria went to the closet where all her dresses were stored. Opening it, she happily decided that she needed to choose which dresses to get rid of. Having chosen some, the girl caught herself thinking that she wanted to throw away everything that she and the prince had bought. Suddenly, she heard a knock on the door, after which she invited the maid to come inside. The girl hesitated in the aisle for some time, clearly trying to delay the moment of conversation. Gathering her courage, she handed the box with the ring back and said that His Highness had asked the lady to return it herself. Ercia thought about why he wanted her to bring him the engagement ring in person. When they were teenagers, Demian gave her that same engagement ring. Then they both assumed that their fates were intertwined until the end of their times, so she gratefully accepted the gift. Now, Princess Pysantria took the box from the hands of the maid and said to fulfill his conditions. As soon as the girl gave the box with the ring, she did not leave, but asked if everything was okay with the lady. The maid stood for a while waiting for an answer, but Ercia sincerely did not understand what she was talking about. The girl worriedly said that she understood perfectly well that she should not be asked such questions, but she was very worried about her mistress. Princess Pysantria assured her that she should not be afraid of her, because she did not intend to scold her maid. Her servant said that there were terrible rumors about the daughter of the Marquis of Lurtella, so everyone did not want her to become crown princess. After listening to her carefully, Ercia asked what the name of her new ward was. The girl was seriously frightened by such persistence and the sudden change in the mistress's face. She bowed her head and excitedly revealed that her name was Azul Portuba. Looking at how the maid was shaking with fear, Princess Pysantria thought that she was most likely the daughter of Viscount Portuba. Erzia immediately decided that she would definitely need a new maid one day. Immediately after talking with Azul, the girl headed to the Crown Prince's office. The guard loudly announced that Princess Pysantria had come to his master. Erzia involuntarily thought that she came to him again as he wanted, but he clearly called her to mock her. Her gaze fell on a vase standing on the table, containing a bouquet of flowers that she personally composed. The girl carefully touched the vase, turning the most beautiful side of the bouquet towards herself. She realized that her bouquet had withered long ago, but the guy had clearly replaced the old flowers with new ones. The Crown Prince stood up from his seat, carefully approached her, and asked if she had really come to return the ring to him. Erzia Pysantria quickly took out the box and said that this is exactly what she came for. Handing him the wedding ring, she explained that the maid had told her that the Crown Prince had asked her to return it in person. The girl looked at him carefully and asked if things were really different. The Crown Prince took the box from her hands, after which Erzia began to get up from the sofa and said that the ring was safe and sound, so if he had nothing more to say, then she would go to her place. When she got up from the sofa, she accidentally hit a table with a vase, after which it fell to the floor and broke. There were broken pieces everywhere, as if to show that their love was just as fragile. Damien immediately ran up to her, telling her that she shouldn't move because otherwise she would get hurt. Seeing that he was about to move closer to her, the girl reminded him that she was no longer engaged to him, so such behavior was unacceptable. The guy quickly pulled himself together, turned away from her, and quietly answered in the affirmative. Erzia also headed towards the exit, saying that it was time for her to go to her room too. The Crown Prince suddenly asked if she really had so much to do, because in his opinion, she shouldn't have any work. Princess Pysantria said that she has a lot to do because she no longer lives here, and packing her things takes a lot of time. He immediately turned in her direction and nervously asked if she had begun to pack her things. The guy began to slowly approach her and rudely ask what she wanted to say to everyone. Approaching her even closer, he took her hand and loudly asked what she was talking about. The girl broke away from his grip and declared that she was leaving because she did not want to stay in this castle any longer. The Crown Prince stopped her from leaving the room, grabbing her wrist with all his strength. Erzia felt incredible pain in her hand, so she immediately turned towards Damien. The guy asked her if he could ask his ex-fiancé for something. The girl said loudly and clearly that she would listen to his request, after which he asked her to help him sort out the documents, because before that she had been dealing with them. He carefully watched her reaction, but instead of willingness to help, he saw hatred in her. The Crown Prince released her hand and informed her that nothing was needed and that she could forget about what he had just said. The guy turned away and said that she could go about her business wherever she wanted. Erzia calmly agreed with his words, after which she headed towards the exit from the office. The girl quickly ran out the door, hoping that this time he would not be able to catch her. Princess Pysantria stopped running when she was a sufficient distance from the prince's office. She thought that if she left the imperial castle, she would not be able to return.